At my college graduation, my uncle stumbled onto the stage and slurred into the mic. She thinks she's so special with her fancy degree, let's see her pay me back for every birthday card I ever gave her. Laughter turned to awkward silence as he waved a crumpled list in the air, screaming, "You owe me $8,200 in emotional support payments." I was mortified as security dragged him away, but later that night, he posted a public rant online claiming I abandoned the family and should be disowned. Last May, I walked across the stage at the University of Iowa to get my degree. 4 years of stress, part-time jobs, all-nighters, and crying in bathrooms just to get there. My mom was in the front row, crying happy tears. She raised me mostly on her own. My dad was a ghost. My uncle Jerry, her older brother, was supposed to be there to support me. Instead, he humiliated me. It started when they called my name. I stood up in my cap and gown, adjusted the sash I was so proud of, and headed toward the stage. The announcer said my full name. The dean reached out to shake my hand. Then I heard the sound of someone stumbling across the stage. Loud footsteps. A microphone screeching. She thinks she's so special with her fancy degree. It was Jerry. He was drunk. Wasted, really. His face was red, shirt half untucked, and he reeked of whiskey. He grabbed the mic right out of the dean's hand. I froze mid-step. Let's see her pay me back for every birthday card I ever gave her. He held up a torn piece of paper. It looked like something he scribbled in the car. He waved it like it was official. "You owe me $8,200 in emotional support payments," he yelled. The crowd laughed at first. Then it got quiet. You could hear the birds outside. People weren't sure if it was a joke. It wasn't. He kept yelling. Security rushed up and grabbed him, but he tried to keep talking as they dragged him away. Screaming about how I was too good for the family now. I didn't even get to finish my walk across the stage. I was in shock. I didn't cry right away. I just stared at the crowd, my diploma in one hand, the other hand shaking. After the ceremony, I locked myself in a bathroom stall and broke down. My mom was outside the door, trying to keep it together too. "I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't know he'd do this." Later that night, I saw the Facebook post. Jerry had gone online and posted a long rant. He said I'd abandoned the family. That I refused to give back. That I got a fancy degree and left everyone else behind. He even said my mom taught me to look down on real people. The worst part? He included pictures. He posted the one of me holding my diploma, smiling. He wrote, "This is what betrayal looks like. You give, and they spit in your face." His friends and a few family members chimed in. Some said I was selfish. One cousin I barely knew said, "She changed after high school. She thinks she's better than us." It spread fast. My name was tagged. I started getting messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. Some congratulated me but added, "But is it true what he said?" That hurt the most. I didn't answer right away. I didn't know what to say. I felt sick. Then I remembered something. Something Jerry probably didn't. For years, I'd kept screenshots. Texts. Emails. Voicemails. All the times he guilt-tripped my mom for money. Times he called me names when I didn't answer his calls. He even messaged me once asking me to lend him $600 when I was 19 and working part-time at Subway. I had it all. I decided I wasn't just going to block him and move on. I was going to make sure he paid for it. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face bloated and smug yelling into that microphone. I kept hearing him say I owed him money for birthday cards. The rage burned in my chest like acid. The next morning, I started planning. I wasn't going to scream back. That's what Jerry would do. Instead, I pulled up a folder I'd kept over the years. I called it Family BS. Inside were screenshots of texts he'd sent my mom, calling her names when she wouldn't give him money for booze or rent. There were voicemails he left me late at night, slurring words, asking for a few $100 because I owed it to him for being like a dad when mine wasn't around. He wasn't like a dad. He was a drunk who came around when he needed cash or a place to crash. He once passed out at my high school graduation dinner and pissed himself in the booth. But now, he had taken it too far. I knew he worked part-time at a plumbing supply store, under the table, and collected disability. The thing is, I also knew he wasn't disabled, not really. He hurt his back years ago, got a small settlement, and milked the system ever since. I didn't go straight to the authorities. First, I messaged a cousin I trusted, Sarah. She and I weren't close, but she had also had problems with Jerry in the past. I asked her if she saw the Facebook post. Yeah, she replied. It made me sick. I'm sorry he did that. I asked if she'd be willing to talk about things he'd said or done to her. Turns out, she had a folder of her own. We weren't the only ones. I reached out to 3 other people who Jerry had burned, people he borrowed from, insulted, harassed. One of them had a video from a Thanksgiving 3 years ago where Jerry bragged about faking back pain and scamming the feds. That was what I needed. I called a lawyer. Told her everything. She said there was a potential fraud case, especially if I could link the disability benefits to his under-the-table job. She gave me advice on how to file a report. But before I did that, I wanted Jerry to see what was coming. I printed out screenshots of his Facebook post, along with a cover letter that said, "Since you made this public, I thought I'd return the favor. Enjoy." Inside the envelope, I added copies of his drunk voicemails, text threats, and the transcript of his Thanksgiving rant. Then I mailed it straight to his apartment. A week later, Jerry showed up at my mom's house, red-faced and shaking. "You little bitch," he yelled through the screen door. "You trying to ruin me?" I was there. I stepped up behind my mom and said, loud and calm, "You did that all by yourself." He lost it. Pounded on the door. Threatened to sue me. Said I was turning the family against him. "Good," I said. "They should have seen this side of you a long time ago." We called the cops. He got a trespassing warning. I filed the fraud report 2 days later with supporting documents. The lawyer helped me do it right. What I didn't know then was that Jerry was also in deep with a few payday loan places and he'd been using his disability checks as collateral. Once the state started looking into his claims, those places came calling hard. His little empire of guilt and lies? It started to crack. And I wasn't finished. The fallout started fast. 3 weeks after I filed the report, Jerry's Facebook account went quiet. He deleted the rant about me, but it was too late. I had already saved everything. So had other people. Screenshots were floating around in family group chats. Some folks stayed silent, but a few started asking real questions. That's when the twist came. One of the people I'd contacted earlier, Tommy, a family friend who Jerry used to get drunk with, called me. "You should know," he said, "Jerry's trying to say you hacked his phone. He's telling people you faked the texts and recordings." My stomach turned. I knew Jerry was pathetic, but this? I wasn't ready for that level of stupid. At first, I ignored it. I thought people would see through it. But then, I got a call from a job recruiter. She'd found my resume online and wanted to follow up after graduation. Great, right? Then she said something that stopped me cold. "We just wanted to clarify a few things. Someone sent an email saying you were involved in a fraud investigation." What? I asked her to forward the email. It was from a fake Gmail account, no real name, but it was clear who wrote it. It said I was abusing state systems, framing a disabled man, and blackmailing family. The grammar was awful, but the damage was done. That's when I knew I had to go public too. I made a post of my own. I kept it calm, clean, and factual. I included screenshots of Jerry's original post, proof of his harassment over the years, and a firm denial of the fake fraud claim. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to make this worse, I wrote. But when someone tries to ruin your future out of spite, you have to speak up. It spread fast. I didn't expect people to support me, but they did. Old classmates, coworkers, even some extended family backed me up in the comments. Some added their own stories about Jerry, stuff I didn't even know. Like how he once pawned his mom's wedding ring and blamed a neighbor. Or how he borrowed money from his sister to buy medicine and used it on scratch-offs. He was burning bridges without even noticing. Then, the next twist hit. A private investigator showed up at my mom's door. Not for me. For Jerry. Turns out, one of the payday loan places he'd borrowed from was now suing him for defaulting. And they'd hired a PI to track down his assets. The investigator asked a few polite questions, then left a card. The same day, my lawyer called. The fraud case was moving forward. They had flagged his disability account for review. He was being audited. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I got a message from my mom's old coworker, a woman who worked in a medical billing office. She told me, quietly, that Jerry had once used my mom's name on one of his ER visits to avoid paying a bill. He used her identity. That was it. That was the match on the gasoline. I filed a report for identity theft. And then I called every single person he tried to turn against me. It was time they heard the whole truth. A month later, I sat in a stiff plastic chair at the small county courthouse in Cedar Rapids. I wasn't the one on trial, but it felt like I was walking into battle. My mom sat beside me, quiet, her hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. Across the room sat Jerry, looking smaller than I remembered. No booze in his system. No crowd to show off for. He looked scared, and he should have been. The identity theft charge was the hammer. The state audit was the nail. Jerry had stolen my mom's identity to dodge a $1,400 hospital bill 2 years earlier. The hospital flagged it only after I filed the fraud complaint, and the audit started pulling threads. My mom had always wondered why a collections notice had showed up addressed to her that year. Now we knew. It was all unraveling. His disability checks were frozen. The state was investigating the under-the-table job. The payday loan lawsuit moved forward, and he couldn't pay a dime. And that private investigator? He'd traced Jerry's fake back injury to the exact date he uploaded a video on Facebook lifting a keg at a barbecue. The judge didn't even blink. Jerry was hit with multiple charges: fraud, identity theft, and false claims. He cried in court. Said he was sorry. Said he didn't mean for any of this to happen. That he just wanted to be appreciated. The judge looked at him and said, "Sir, what you wanted was to manipulate and destroy someone else's life to cover for your own. That's not appreciation. That's abuse." He got probation and a massive fine. But worse, his reputation was dust. He lost everything. His friends dropped him. His landlord gave him 30 days to leave. His name was printed in the local paper front page. And me? I got job offers. Real ones. People saw the story, saw how I fought back with facts, not fire, and respected it. My lawyer even said it might help me get into law school if I ever wanted to apply. But I wasn't clean either. I'd spent months collecting dirt. I'd dragged old stories into the light. And yeah, part of me wanted him to hurt. I wanted revenge. Not justice revenge. That part of me made me sick sometimes. My mom and I had a long talk one night. She said, "You did what you had to do. But don't let him live in your head any longer than he already has." She was right. So I deleted the folders. I logged out of Facebook. I changed my number. The last time I saw Jerry, he was sitting outside the courthouse, staring at the ground, smoking a cigarette down to the filter. He didn't look up when I walked past. He didn't say a word. He had nothing left to say. And I didn't owe him a damn thing.